I'm very happy about here, and I have full congratulations for, in that in China there's always seems to be something new that's being upgraded or it's being modernised.
I pay for my things, Peter pays for his. So we go to lunch, half-half. We go to dinner, half-half. So we both have our own money, we both have our independence, and we share a life and we compromise, I think. We agree to disagree. I can't believe in one generation this nation has done what no other country in the world has done. From bicycles to Bentleys in one generation.
Welcome back to another episode of Living in China. Today I sit here with Mr. and Mrs. Johnson.
Thank you, Chrissy. Thank you for having us.
It's nice to meet you.
I must say I'm so humbled to have these amazing couples on this channel. And they are here to share their experiences of life in China as couples and also 52 years of marriage. Half a century. Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, welcome to Bless His World.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chrissy.
Nice
Thank you for having us.
I'm glad. How long have you been in China?
Since 2009. So
20th of April 2009.
How many years is that? Nearly 14?
Nearly 14 years.
No more. 14.
Before coming to China, what was your perception about China before coming here?
Well, we've been here before. We came here with our 5 children in 1986, before you were born. And there was nothing here. No hotels, no taxis. We went to Beijing and there was nothing. So in one generation, China's done an amazing job. But we had a small idea, but we had no idea. Even going back to Australia, our friends don't believe us. They don't believe the supermarkets, the roads, the hotels, the high standard that everybody has here. It's absolutely amazing.
My son Simon is the leasing manager for a large group of shopping centre in Australia and has worked in the industry with Westfield, some of the biggest groups in the world that happen to be Australian. And when he said to me when he was here last time, he said, "Dad," he said, "the standard of shopping centre here in China is as good as, if not better, than the standards in Australia and America and the UK."
Amazing.
The roads phenomenal. The railway system is absolutely amazing, and it's magic. It's so efficient, and they shift so many people with all the security, which unfortunately we have to have these days. And of course, beautiful, well-designed, comfortable railway stations with everything that you need.
Amazing.
And a continual involvement of building new infrastructure things like the new international airport in Qingdao has only been open a few months. The other one, the Loughton, I thought it was quite good. It was very functional, but the new one is out of this world.
Let me tell you, when we were home in Australia 2 years ago, and we both had to have minor surgery. I had cataracts removed, Pete had we couldn't fly. We wanted to go to Sydney, so we thought, well, we'll get the train. We're used to the trains in China. The train left Brisbane at 6 in the morning. It got to Sydney at 6 at night, 12 hours. Would have taken probably 6 hours in China. And it was 45 years old. It was a rattle trap. So we love your trains here. They're amazing trains, aren't they?
Yes,
amazing.
Yes.
We travel a lot on the trains.
But the other thing which is I'm very happy about here, and I have full congratulations for, in that in China there's always seems to be something new that's being upgraded, or it's being modernised, or it's being built. They don't leave old buildings around for very long. They pull them down and build new ones. Unlike the Europeans and the English, who have got buildings that go back hundreds of years. You can go to London, you can see where Lord Byron lived, and all these other people who are quite famous in history. But the Chinese have taken the American system, which tends to pull down anything that's 20 or 30 years old. But they are building for the future.
Right.
The 4-lane, 6-lane, 8-lane highways
amazing.
that are here. So the
And they're done quickly, aren't they? Amazing.
very
speed.
efficiently,
Amazing.
and you know, Chinese tend to sit round and talk about it for a period of time, and then bang, they're into it, and they go like rockets. And they don't have this silly nonsense that we have in the West, where that people don't work on Saturdays and Sundays, and they want overtime, and they stop work in the rain or in the snow, whatever. None of that happens here, and that's why when they get things done, it's usually to an extremely high, great standard.
The Hilton in Qingdao, where we often stay, is absolutely beautiful. 4 of our children have stayed in the Hilton Hotel, and it's a super, super hotel, and the hotel service and the staff, and it's just way above.
So if you are to describe China, the first time you came here, 1986,
Yes.
and now, if you are to describe China in one word,
Ah.
what would it be?
I would think, I can't believe in one generation this nation has done what no other country in the world has done. They've taken people from abject poverty to an amazing
life.
lifestyle.
You go
Abject poverty to from bicycles to Bentleys in one generation.
From bicycles to Bentley.
Bentleys in one generation.
Mr. Johnson?
I think my wife has summed it up. It's just
incredible.
quite incredible the way that China's not only got to where it's going now, but it's going further. It's not stopping here. It's going to continually get better and better and better.
And we are amazed to be part of it, to be here and to see it. We go home and tell our friends, and they just don't believe that there are more Mercedes sold in China than the whole of Europe. You know, it's just mind-boggling. And everyone lives a nice lifestyle. Everyone's out to dinner, everyone's out walking, everyone's safe, and there's lovely parks and trees, and the environment's good, the climate here's good. On the beach, lovely place to live.
Superb food, which I still think the best food in the world is in China,
And-
because it's fresh. It's
Exactly,
not processed.
exactly.
Well, it's not processed.
And also, the Chinese are engaging the Western ways. They're out in coffee shops now having coffee. We stayed, as I said, at the Hilton in Qingdao. I was able to have Eggs Benedict for breakfast, which is absolutely amazing to be in China, having beef Wellington and Eggs Benedict and all the Western things we enjoy. So we're lucky to be here, very lucky.
How is Australia, from where you come from, different from the Chinese setting?
Australia's brilliant. Australia's an amazing country, isn't it?
It is.
We say God's country. It's a lovely, amazing
How is it
country.
different from China?
Well, it's...
We
it's,
have a different attitude. For instance, we've cleaned up the environment some time ago. There's virtually no pollution in Australia. The oceans are fabulous with magnificent swimming facilities. Pretty well everybody can swim. All my grandchildren, by the time they were 3, could swim at least 100 metres.
And the lifestyle is different, is it? We all have our own house. Most have a swimming pool or a tennis court or neither, but in a single dwelling. And people mix more. We entertain at home,
Right.
whereas Chinese people tend to have their family, but they don't seem to have a wide network of friends in their houses. And I think that's the main difference. And also for the young ones, they don't have anywhere like, there's only KTV. The young ones in Australia, they go to the coffee shops, or they might go for a drink in the bar when they're 17 and 18, and there's somewhere to go, isn't there? But I think China's changing and getting very Western very quickly. We see our friends with chandeliers from Italy, beautiful furniture and beautiful, amazing. And I hope China doesn't lose its characteristics, you know. The big marble hotels, you could be in New York or Shanghai or America, but the Chinese culture, we've travelled to 75 cities since we've been here.
75 cities in China.
Yes.
And what's your favorite city so far?
Well, you say what you like.
Well, when we were trying to make up our minds some years ago where to live, and we both like Xiamen. We thought it was rather attractive and what have you.
And
Tricia doesn't
Dali?
like the
It's
heat.
too hot to live. It's like Australia. It's too hot.
We enjoyed Dali, but it's a bit far away from anything in
Dali's
the way
gorgeous,
of really
beautiful.
close, good international airports. We liked Weihai, etc.
But we like Ronchon.
But at the end of the day, the one that won for us was Ronchon. Now, there's about 25 different reasons, when I don't have time today to go through them all.
Right.
But very simply, lovely people, great food,
The seafood.
fantastic beach. I swim about half a kilometre out and half a kilometre back. pretty well every second day.
And you
during
walk
summer.
to the beach, don't you?
And I walk there and what have you. Excellent bus service, very close to the airport, Weihai Airport.
International.
And of course, it's the terminus for the high-speed train. But
And can I say, I think the difference is the Chinese people work 7 days a week sometimes. The mothers and fathers both work with one child, and there's not much free time. Until this year, the students had to study all weekend, all till 11 at night, and no social life, no fun. Whereas we have fun in Australia. We enjoy the sunshine and the beaches and the...
And every weekend is, it's TGIF. Thank God it's
it's
Friday.
Friday.
and people go out, and particularly the young ones, and even the older ones, and
They
they
go
go to a
dancing,
restaurant, they go
yeah.
dancing, they go to the movies,
Yeah.
they socialise
Yeah.
Right.
collectively.
Right.
And the girls do ballet when they're young, and they do violin lessons or piano lessons. So there's a good social life,
So there's a good social life in Australia.
Yes.
People have fun.
Yes, but we bring that to China.
So-
We're always entertaining. We have a marvellous
Okay,
social life
so
here.
I want to know, what is your social life in China? Looking at your
It's
age,
amazing.
what do you do?
Well, we entertain. We have
Yeah.
lunches, we have dinners, we go out to dinner. We're always out somewhere.
Do you get support from the Chinese people?
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
they love
Oh,
coming to have a Western meal here, and we go to their houses, and we have lots of lovely friends, Chinese friends and expats. We were out yesterday to lunch with some Russians. The Russians introduced us to a German and her husband who's Chinese, and then the night before we had a dinner party with one of the managers of the 5-star hotel and the radiologist from the hospital and the doctor who's in charge of COVID. So we have a lovely circle of friends and a lovely
That is amazing. That's
lifestyle.
amazing.
Yeah. For
We
our
will
age.
have
For our
two-
age.
Yes.
2 to 3 times at least per week for dinner,
Yeah.
where the Chinese people will say, look, please come to our home,
Yeah.
or we'll go to a restaurant and we'd like you to come with us, etc.
And we go to their homes as well.
And
It's lovely.
we enjoy their company, and I'm very pleased that they enjoy our company too.
Because we're very old now. We're not young. We have 5 children, in Australia.
Right.
4 in Australia, 1 in New York, and 10 grandchildren. So we keep in touch with them every day. It's one they haven't rung during this interview. They're always ringing, and we have video chats. We do debating. We have lovely chats with our children. They call us Trish and Pete, mum and dad.
So now let's talk a bit about your marriage. I watched your video with Rhoda, and you said you've been married for over 52 years.
I know, it's a long time. Purgatory, really.
What has kept your marriage? What has kept your marriage for over 52 years? Because now, in our age, there's a lot of divorce going on each and every day.
Even if you get married today.
You can get divorced tomorrow.
Exactly.
So what has kept your marriage for over 52 years, Mr. Johnson?
I think the biggest thing is to accept that your partner has their own mind, and your partner has some things that you don't like and that you don't agree with. And at the same time, you can share as many things as possible. We enjoy the same movies. We enjoy the same food. Not all the food's the same,
No,
but
I don't eat some things Peter eats.
I eat a lot of things that the Chinese eat. I like pig's head and chicken's head and fish head,
feet
and I've got a good dog restaurant,
and,
etc. So
silkworms.
I enjoy all that. Tricia doesn't, but generally speaking, she's a very good cook, and I like cooking, but Tricia's a lot better than I am. So
But you're a big help. He's a wonderful help.
I'm allowed to assist, which is probably a big thing.
And I think
the other thing is that I think that we've always enjoyed each other's company, and we've enjoyed the children, and the children always discuss things with us when it's an important issue. We also enjoy travel very much, and we've always enjoyed, particularly trains. We love trains.
And let me tell you, we never sit next to each other on the train or in the plane. Peter sits there, and because he takes up too much room, so I sit there. I like to sit at the front of the plane and put my feet up. Peter likes to sit at the back. And another thing which is probably unique in a marriage, I pay for my things, Peter pays for his. So we go to lunch, half-half. We go to dinner, half-half. So we both have our own money, we both have our independence, and we share a life and we compromise, I think. We agree to disagree.
I
right.
compromise more.
I compromise more.
I'm very much so. I'm really the compromising person in the relationship.
All right,
Oh.
Mr. Johnson. 5 kids in your
Yes,
marriage
in 5 years.
in 5 years.
Yes.
We had
Five
five.
kids in 5 years.
Every
We
year.
had 5 under
Under 5.
five.
I must say, you were a strong man then.
Oh, thank
And
you.
still a
thank
strong
you,
man.
Thank you. Yes, but
Now, Peter never changed the nappy, never gave the children a bottle, went to work, and the mother stayed at home and minded the children in those days. So that's how it was.
So I want to ask this question. How did children coming into your marriage affect your marriage?
Didn't make any difference, did it? What did you say?
well, that's the big difference between us and China. The thing is that we didn't allow the children to run our life.
The children came into our lives.
So, for instance,
Yes.
when we went, a lot of people we know, they said to say, oh, you've got to be, the baby's asleep and what have you. We never had any of that. We, if you would come in to do this interview, if one of the children was very young, they would be in a basket on the floor. Right?
And also they would-
And when we went to a restaurant, we'd take the basket and put the basket down. And the children slept.
And
We
also-
didn't tippy-toe around the place and saying, shh.
And also, Peter, the men were at work, so the women were in charge of the children. And the children had to behave. You just didn't put up with any nonsense. They sat at the table, they sat up straight, they held the knife and fork properly, they didn't speak unless they were spoken to, and they behaved themselves. And you expected that. And when Peter came home from work, they were all dressed and showered, ready to say goodnight to their father. They would go to bed, we would have our dinner. But the secret is, with a big family, to have help. Always help in the house. For 20 years, live in help. You need some help. That's what.
So if you look at the background of what you're talking about and in the Chinese system,
Yes,
how is raising kids in Australia different from the Chinese system?
completely different. The children in China, without being derogatory, they're a bit spoiled. We don't spoil our children. We had a young 2-year-old to dinner on Friday night, and we had lunch yesterday with an 8-month-old child. But we didn't pander to them, and we didn't spoil. They were there. They were the children. They were seen and not heard. But because there's one child, they're so important to them.
Right.
I mean, our children are all important, but they don't come into. They don't take over our lives, do they?
We taught them a very unusual word. A lot of Chinese children don't know about. It's called no, to say no is, I think, a very good thing, and
we were strict, I
it
think.
gives the children an opportunity to know what the rules are. I mean, say we'd go to a restaurant, we'd never allow them to run up and down the restaurant and be uncontrolled and what have you. And we did that for a reason, because we felt that it was a lot easier to do it when they were young. And of course, when they got older, you can't be sort of saying, now I'm going to tell you something, blah, 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 blah. A lot of times, particularly the young ones today, they're taller than their parents.
And I think our secret is too that we every year took the children away with us, because with 5 children, you either had each brought a friend, you had 10 to dinner, or they're all somewhere else, especially when they're kids in their early teens. So every holiday, the 5-week-long holiday, we'd take them to first year China, second year Singapore, Hong Kong, next year England, next year America, next year Fiji, next year Norfolk Island, Lord Howe Island, and then we travelled the world with them. So every holiday, the children, they had to sit with us, breakfast, lunch and dinner, sit next to us on the plane, talk to us. So you got to know your children well. Hence they call us Trish and Pete, not Mum and Dad.
So I want to put you on the spot again. What does marriage mean to you?
Well, what's marriage mean to you?
Well, he's asked you first.
Well, we have no... You marry for better or worse, sickness and...
Richer or
Richer or poorer, sickness and health,
health.
till death. You have a
Till death.
contract. Marriage is a contract. And you stick to the contract, and you live within the confines of that contract, and
Right.
you get on with it. You just get on with it.
Most of
And
our
if you're in a
friends-
bad mood, I keep out of the way. Just go away.
It's probably a
Go-
wise move.
go shopping.
Most of our friends are not divorced,
They're not.
but a number of our friends' children are divorced.
Sometimes twice.
And I think
Some are not married.
some people that are younger are selfish. They have something that they don't like, and that immediately becomes a major issue, and therefore, I walk away.
If there are young couples watching this video
Advice about marriage.
about marriage, what advice are you going to give them?
I think you compromise and you You look at the good things and the bad things, you weigh up the good things, and if the good things are better than the bad things, well, that's what life's about, isn't it? And you just get on with it and enjoy. You get married in the first place because you absolutely fall madly in love, and then you have children, and then it comes down to washing shirts and mopping floors and you know, all that sort of stuff. And then you've got to have an interest. A woman has to have an interest, and a man has to have his interest. And I think you do your own thing within your marriage. You know, you have your own hobbies and interests. We both have very interesting hobbies and interesting interests, like the English-speaking Union, Seroptimus, and Peter has all his clubs, his Tattersalls Club, the Brisbane Club, the United Service Club. And, you know, the men do their thing, the women do their thing. I go to bridge, Peter might go for a drink with the men. It's compromise, you know.
Right, compromise. The word here is compromise.
I think so. What do you think?
I think the important thing for men is they shouldn't get married before they're 30. I think a man needs to be established. I think he needs to be if he's going to be the proper provider, and he's going to do that in such a way that he is the person who is doing the providing. And at the same time, I think that it gives them an opportunity to mature. I think women mature earlier than men, and they develop a lot quicker and a lot differently. And they have a different social responsibility than women, because they are the mothers of the world. And I said, I think also the other thing to secret of anybody's married is that hasten slowly into marriage, you know. It's this, you know, the first person they meet and the first person that they have sex with shouldn't be the person that they get married to. It should be, well, some people don't agree with that, but at the same time I think that sometimes you have a relationship that is in the flush of passion, and people think that's life. It's not. As Tricia said, you're back to mopping floors and doing the cooking and the cleaning and the mundane things.
You have to have the similar interests and marry from a similar background. I think it's important to mix with people that you've either gone to school with or university with, like-minded people. It's no good mixing with someone who comes from a different background. You can do it, but it's very complicated.
Well, based on what you just said, like people marry from different, they should marry from
different
similar backgrounds.
It's very important.
What is your view on interracial marriage?
Well, I think that can work very well, and I think it depends on the background of the people, if they're intelligent enough to work it out together, and to make sure that both the parents on both sides are in agreement. That's another issue. It's harder. Marriage would be harder for the relations, harder for the children who are which like our religion. I was a devout Anglican. Peter was a lapsed Catholic, so I changed my religion to be a Catholic, because then the children all have the one, the one religion. But I think with a mixed marriage, you have to really work out which side of the marriage is stronger, which family network is stronger, who will help with the children. We didn't have any help with our children. My mother died, and Peter's mother had four children and a lot of grandchildren, and we were independent, looking after our children, as I said, with housekeepers and things. But I think that's important. So I think it can work, but I think you have to work probably 10 times harder than someone from the same background. That's what I think. I compromised, and it worked well.
So the word here is compromise.
I think so.
And accepting the fact that what we do in Australia, we say, look, you leave your religious problems or your particular problems or your beliefs about the country you've come from behind you. When you come to Australia, you're Australians, and you work and mix with us and socialise and live a happy and successful life with us. It's up to you if you really want to make it happy.
Right. Living in China since 2009, if there's one thing you want to be changed, obviously we don't have the power to change anything in China, but if there's one thing you want to be changed about this country, what would it be?
I think for the children to have more sport.
More sports.
And more social life. And for the children, they study very, very hard. But I do think, having taught lots of children and having had 5 ourselves, I think the C students run the world, and you don't have to get 100%, and the parents push their children a lot in China to be successful, and I think you've got to let them go at their own pace. And I think the children are stressed, and I think if they have a bit more free time and learn as they grow and not be pushed so hard, I think that would be an advantage. And I'm a bit disappointed about English not being taught here, but I can understand why, because the children have enough work already. They really do have a lot of work to do.
Mr. Johnson?
I have been thinking of your question when Tricia was answering it, and quite frankly, at the present time, there's nothing I would change. I just think that every time I've thought, oh, they should do that, within a week something's happening.
Like,
That's one thing I love about China. There's something new happening.
yes,
Very
it is.
good. Yes.
And
You go to a place,
Yes.
the next year you go there, there's something new going on.
Exactly.
That's
A new
so
shopping
amazing.
centre.
That's amazing about
like
this country.
Nine Dragons
Yeah.
here, the shopping centre. I said, who's going to shop in this massive
Mega.
and it's packed out. There's car parks. You can't get a car park. It's mind-boggling, isn't it?
It is, and
The
also,
retailing
as
is
I
amazing.
said, I made the comment earlier on, what my son said, who lives in the shopping centre world and has done all his working life. And he said, you cannot better the shopping centres in China in comparison.
And the high-end, the Gucci, the Prada,
Right, yeah.
the Chanel.
Right.
I mean, the high-end merchandise, and the students always look smart.
It
You
looks
don't
smart.
see old bummy cars. Everyone's
Yeah.
got a new car
Yep.
and a nice apartment and well dressed. So China's doing well.
China's doing
They're
well.
And also-
very- and on the bus they always ask. I can say, "Need to say, how old are you?" And I say, "Wu shi liu sui, ba shi san sui."
Okay,
They all
on,
laugh.
on that note, what's your favorite Chinese word or your favorite Chinese phrase? And what does that mean? Before I let you go.
Oh, let me see what I like to say. 认识你很高兴.
That's nice to meet you, right?
Yeah.
Mr. Johnson?
He doesn't.
Ni hao.
Ni hao. So on this note, I want to say thanks to Mr. and Mrs. Johnson
It's
for
love.
opening their home for us to come have this conversation.
It's
And I'm so
lovely to meet
grateful.
you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Chrissy.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
It's
taking
lovely
the
to
Thank you,
time.
Mrs.
lovely to
Johnson.
meet you,
The
Chris.
food-
In
the
your
food-
handsome suit and a
Oh,
handsome man.
thank you. I'm so humbled. And I must say, you look so fashionable.
Oh, thank you so much.
You look so beautiful.
But we're very old now.
Like 52 years of marriage, it still looks like 2 years of
Oh,
marriage.
that's very nice. You're
Thank
very
you, Chrissy.
complimentary.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You must show the
And I must say
show the viewers our message from the Pope. It says, in Port St. Crest, apostolic blessings to Peter, Francis, Edmund, and Patricia on the occasion of their 50th wedding anniversary as a pledge of heavenly favours.
Wow.
How good is that?
Wow.
Don't you think?
That's
I think
great.
that's very exciting.